Hi there, I'm Sabina, and here I will be sharing with you all my progress with my DA for BCM215. After receiving helpful comments from my peers, there were many mentions of the rivalry between Sega and Nintendo, and challenging Nintendo in both the marketing and the development of their hardware and software. Famous for games like Bayonetta, Valkyria's Chronicles, the Yakuza series, and the famous Sonic the Hedgehog, founded in 1946, Sega was formerly known as Service Games, and they started out by creating slot machines from Northern America into Hawaii. However, they saw more success in Japan in the 1950s to 1960s, and by the late 60s, Sega was encouraged to make their own games after their success, and it was then they became the powerhouse in the arcade scene in the 80s. Now let me briefly explain the video game crash of 1983, also known as the Atari Shock. It was that by 1983 that almost every video company was copying off of each other, and soon the market became oversaturated and the flourishing video game industry collapsed. Companies such as Mattel, Atari lost billions of dollars, and Americans they lost interest in buying the latest and greatest video games. The Japanese company Nintendo, although small but was ambitious, and they were not fazed by the failure of Atari and Mattel. In July of 1983, Nintendo launched their home console Famicom, and the Nintendo Entertainment System was introduced and became a hit, which helped revitalize the North American video game industry, and less than 5 years later, Nintendo dominated 90% of a $3 billion industry, and the NES has been sold nearly 62 million units worldwide today. On the same day of the release of the Famicom, Sega also launched their SG-1000, but to rival the NES, in 1985, Sega introduced their Master System, also known as Sega Mark III, and it was their 8-bit international home console. However, despite all the effort, Sega was still unable to match the dominance of Nintendo's line of home consoles. The drive for competition gave birth to Sega's Mega Drive, a 16-bit home video game console twice as powerful as the NES. Released first in Japan, they received mild success with its initial release, and this gave the powers that be high hopes for their American counterparts. Hopes so high, in fact, in 1989 Sega had only one goal, and that is to sell 1 million units. The rivalry between Nintendo and Sega only escalated. With Nintendo having the upper hand, they had game designers sign an exclusive agreement with a precise non-compete clause, meaning if Nintendo got a game, there was no way it was compatible on Sega's system. The competition between Sega and Nintendo is not only a matter of popularity, but in quality of its hardware and software development with their own unique marketing strategy. For more, you can read in my blog post, and stay tuned and thank you for listening.